Good morning, everybody. Hope you had a good weekend. We'll go ahead and get started. So first thing I wanted to do is congratulate Bob. As those of you that are regular attendees on the Friday GOTS training call, you'll remember that Bob was the first person in 14 years who actually completed 30 days doing the 5-minute drill, a daily 5-minute drill using the GOTS. And I just want to let you know that it pays off. I listened to a tape review of one of Bob's client meetings, and you're going to actually hear it on this Friday's call with Jeff, because this is a textbook how you do a disclosure meeting, a 21-point checklist meeting. He did an awesome job of getting on their side, did an awesome job of letting them do the talking. When they would interrupt him, he'd stop and listen. He would actually reflect on what they had said. I mean, he did a fantastic job. I haven't heard a tape like that in many, many, many moons. So congratulations to Bob. You'll actually hear how to do a 21-point checklist meeting right on Friday when Jeff does the GOTS call this Friday. He's going to actually do a tape review and he's going to play that tape so you can hear how a meeting should sound. And then Bob's also going to let you know that these people were not the easiest people. These are people that kind of rejected him earlier in the year when he went in with a product sale, and he got them back in to do a 21-point checklist. And this poor guy, I won't spoil too much of it, but this guy has been in an accident, so he was uncomfortable sitting in the chair. This lady, Bob later found out, is considered by all, even her friends, as being very, very difficult to handle because she's very, very negative and very, very uncommunicative. And you're going to listen to how Bob has her just open up and becomes best friends with him. So that shows you the kind of things that can happen. And Bob and I were laughing. It sounded like he'd given them the script. A lot of you guys talked to me about, and I've heard say, well, of course, on the video, when you do the 21-point checklist with Jeff, he knows the script. He's going to be easy. And Bob and I were laughing because this lady was actually easier than Jeff is on that tape. So when you do this right, guess what? The clients follow the script. So congratulations again, Bob. That is a great indicator of what can happen when you put the work in. If you consider 5 minutes a day for 30 days. The work. So great job, and you guys are going to be have fun Friday listening to that tape. Second thing is, Fire, Floods, and Taxes is the third event that we have. And so we have the outside the box, we have the Social Security, we have Fire, Floods, and Taxes. Generally, you use the Fire, Floods, and Taxes for small gatherings, like when you've been asked to speak at church or asked to speak at the Rotary Club or the Kiwanis Club or at some other organization. You can use Fire, Floods, and Taxes. We've updated that. And that can now be used for the community education as well. So now you have 3 different classes you can teach at community education. So that is updated on the website as well. So let's see if anybody recognizes what movie this is from. One of my favorite movies. I've been waiting forever to use a graphic from this movie. Anybody? Ghostbusters? No? What about Highlander? Yep, we got Casey and Dale got Highlander. Highlander's the quickening. So what I want to talk about today is the QuickStart, and a lot of you guys have been on the system for years, and you may or may not be aware of the QuickStart and how we conduct that. So a lot of you guys that have just been on recently, this is what we take, the process that we take you through, but the guys that have been on for years probably did not get to go through this process. So I want to walk you through this process because I think it's good for all of us to think about, have we done these steps? Does it make sense to go through the steps again? So I will invite you, even you veterans that have been on for years, if you want to go through the QuickStart program with me, be more than happy to do it. What I do is when people come on, I spend an hour or so a week with them to get them up and started and running at full speed. So I want to walk you through exactly what we do. And for those of you veterans, if you think it's worthwhile to circle back and do this with me, I'd love to do it with you. But I would just think it's great for you to realize the steps it takes to get really, really good at this and how quickly you can do it. So the first part is this. First is book out 10 a.m. Central Time every Friday for a half-hour call on working on the GOT skill. The skill will change your life seriously. So why do you think this is the number one thing I put in all the 15 things that we were going to cover? Why is this the number one thing, guys? Why is the GOTS call on Friday the number one thing? I'll wait for some people to type some things in here. Guys, you should all be jumping on typing right now. Most important, Bill, I'd agree with that. Constant practice. Well, Bill got it right. It is by far the most important skill that you'll ever learn. And Bob, you'll hear on Friday, that's the reason Bob was able to get this ornery lady to open up to him and to love him to death, because he was awesome at getting on her side. It's the most important skill. You can be lousy at everything else of the system, but if you're great at getting on their side, you're going to be very, very successful. And as some of the other people typed in, I totally agree with you. It's a mindset. You have to be constantly reviewing this. If you don't, it's not that hard to do once you practice it for a while, but even when it's not hard to do, you'll forget about doing it if you're not constantly being reminded of it. Even if I'm not on the Friday calls, I forget to do this in my life. So this is the number one thing on the Quick Start, because this is the most important thing that you can do. And if you're not on those calls, well, what are the 3 reasons you don't have to be on those calls? Number 1, death for you or somebody in your family. 2, sickness for somebody in your family or yourself. 3, vacation. Other than that, you need to be on those calls. Why? What if you told me that you, let me ask you a question then. I had an appointment with one of my clients. Is that a good reason not to be on the call? Awesome. Everybody's getting no. Because you know what? You're going to make far more money in this half-hour skill than you'll ever make with just one client, because this will help you close everybody. Okay? So that's the first thing we go over. Second thing, please review the 2 coaching calls, getting on their side. This is an essential skill. You can find these on the site under Library Conference Calls Replays 2.3 on 14 and 2.17 on 14. So when they come on board, I actually have them walk through the 2 one-hour coaching calls I did on getting on their side to really get them. So now, number 1 and number 2, all about what? GOTS. 3, talk to Jeff Van Grinsven at ECA, and he's going to walk through all the tools ECA has available to you. I think it's worthwhile for all of you guys to just have a rehash. Next time you talk to ECA, just say, what kind of tools, other than the great things you've been doing for me so far, are there other tools I should be aware of? Are there other things that you can give us or that we can use? So I think a lot of you might be surprised at some of the things that they have available to you that you, just because you've never really asked about or didn't need it, don't know they exist. But if you do know they exist, maybe you'd find some ways that you could use that in your everyday practice. So make sure next time you talk to ECA to talk about their, or ask them about the other tools they have available to you. Jeff Friedberg at 5Q will go through the 21-point checklist with you. So we have Jeff, when people first come on, walk them through the 21-point checklist software, but more importantly, because that's very simple to use, I think you'll all agree, but more importantly, how to become proficient, not master, but at least become proficient at the 21-point checklist very, very rapidly. And I also want everybody to come on to do their first 4 or 5 or 10 with Jeff by their side. Why do I want to do the first 4 or 5, 10? Because the software is not that difficult. So why do I want them to still do their first 5, 4, or 10, 4, 5, or 10, I guess, with Jeff, and every difficult one going forward? Why would I want them to do that with Jeff? See, Jeff has done thousands and thousands of 21-point checklists with people. He's going to have nuances, Dale, exactly. He's going to see things that you won't see when you're doing the 21 point checklist, when you're looking at the material, when you're looking at the client situation. He'll help you to focus in on the things that are going to give you the biggest bang for the buck. And it makes sure that you don't start with any bad habits. Unfortunately, sometimes with something as easy as our software is, I mean, it's powerful. It's unbelievably powerful, I think you'll agree, but it's easy to use. And when you have something that's easy to use, you can sometimes start to get a form some bad habits. And Tom, I would absolutely agree with Tom. He says, do you evaluate a performance in 21-point checklist? Yeah. So how do we set up time with Jeff to go through the first 10? Oh, that's a great question. So what you're going to do is, well, Jeff, are you on the line right now?
Hold on, Jeff, you're still muted.
He's trying to get on.
Hold on 1 second.
Okay. Missy's going to have to go over and help Jeff now.
Oh,
there he is. So, Jeff, what do you prefer? What do you want them to send? Do you want them to call you?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Okay. Yeah, we hear you now. So what do you... Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, here's what happens. Usually what happens is you can't do the 21-point checklist, or you can't fill in all the blanks, because when I walk you through it, we show you that the software is easy. You just fill in the blanks, but you don't have all the information to fill in the blanks until you send me. Usually people scan and email me the statements. Sometimes they fax them, but it's easier if you scan and email them. It's easier for you. It's easier for me to keep track of everything if you do it that way. I'll get the morning stars back to you, and I'll get you all the information that way. That makes me aware that you're working on one. If you want help with it, or additional help with it, just shoot. What'll always happen when I email you the Morningstar reports, just shoot me back an email saying, hey, when's a good time to talk about these? I'll always invite you to talk about them, and just take me up on the offer and say, yeah, I do want to talk about it, and we'll email back and forth and get a date and time, and we'll sit through it and go through it together.
And though they need to collect the power of attorney, and though they need to collect the auto and home insurance, though they need to collect all that stuff, they don't need to send that to you, right? Because everybody's is wrong. Right. You don't.
So
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you don't need to send me the power of attorney or the will or the trust. You can if you want. But just to give you the heads up, typically we won't really dig into or look at those things until you get to a solutions meeting or an implementation meeting. So as you're preparing for a disclosure meeting, all you really need to know is it wrong? So you can have the talk. And yes, they're all wrong, so you can have the talk.
Yeah, because they're all wrong for the 9 reasons we all know, right?
Right.
So you don't have to send those to Jeff, and we'll help you once, like Jeff said, at the solutions meeting when they moved all their money, we'll help you get the power of attorney done correctly. But all we need for the 21-point checklist is the knowledge that what they have is wrong, and we know that that's wrong. So what you're going to basically send, Jeff, is the statements. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, so that's a good question, Dino. Any other questions on that? Super. Okay, number 5, go to the coaching call replays and watch the 7-14-14 replay, Truth and Consequences. And again, this is something, I don't care how long you've been on the system, this is a coaching call I'd want you to go back and watch on a regular basis. Why? Because here's the thing, we go through all 21 things, and we figure out what would be the consequences if a client didn't do this. So I want you to understand, the 21-point checklist is not a party trick. It is actually helping clients avoid huge problems in their lives. So we go through and we figure out what would be the consequence to a client if they didn't have a survivor's guide done. What would be the consequence to clients if they didn't have their power of attorney done? What would be the consequence if they didn't have them electronically filed? What would there be we go through all those things. Now, why would you want to be an expert at that? Well, first of all, it gives you conviction that what we're doing is really important, and that any one of these things could cause a problem to them. And if you have that mindset, here's the thing. When I'm doing a 21-point checklist and I'm presenting the survivor's guide, I'm presenting the survivor's guide as if that's the only reason they're going to move their money to me. So I'm that focused. I'm not thinking about anything else afterwards. Oh, somebody's got, is that Jeff? You can go ahead and hit.
Yep, I got him. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. So when I'm presenting the survivor's guide, I'm presenting it with total focus that that's the only reason they're going to move the money. I feel I need to be good enough there that they'll move the money just for that. And then when I move on to the, say, the power of attorney, I'm presenting that with the mindset that I've got to be good enough for they understand that they need to move their money to me to get this stuff fixed just for the power of attorney. Then when I move to electronically filing, I'm from the mindset, I have to be good enough at this so they understand the consequences of not doing this, and they have to come on with me to get this done. And I want you to be very good at that, because otherwise, guess what most guys are looking at? What do you think, guys? Is that how most people, when I listen to the tapes, now Bob did an awesome job. And a lot of you guys are getting very good at the power of attorney portion of it. But when I listen to some of the other non-financial stuff, guess what I hear? You're in a hurry to get to where? Where do you believe the money's going to move? The money, exactly, Dale. You kind of go through you're like, I got to get through this non-financial because Mike tells me I got to do the non-financial, but they're going to make the decision of moving the money when we get to the money. No. Guys, I made $1 million a year doing things I don't get paid for. They made their decisions during the non-financial portion. Why? Why did they make their decision during the non-financial portion? It's a great review. Why did they make their decision during the non-financial portion? It's a great review of how and why the 21-point checklist works. Come on, guys. Well, this is a great review then. You earn their trust. I would absolutely agree with that. Earn trust and realize you revealed issues. Yep, I agree with that. They know you care and are confident. I agree with that. No one else is doing it. I agree with that. Yeah, so you got two of the things. It's showing that we care, and it's at least making us look different from everybody else out there. Absolutely. And with couples, the main thing is finally, somebody's talking to who? And this is exactly what Bob experienced in the tape. You'll see it. Yeah, and what's important about the wife? Finally, somebody talking about the wife. Somebody's talking about issues that the wife is concerned with. That's right, Bruce. The wife wears the pants. So when it comes to finances, the guy thinks he wears the pants. Why does the guy think he wears the pants? Because the guy gets bored sometimes, unless you do a good job. Guys didn't get bored when I did the non-financial, but I hear it's the way some of you guys do it. I could see why the man of the house would get bored. When you get good at it, they don't get bored either. Because you're involving them in the conversation, you're getting on their side, and you're patting them on the back, and everybody likes to be patted on the back. But for years, the guy thinks he's in charge when it comes to the money. Why? Because she lets him, Bill. Exactly. Because she doesn't know about the money. So she sits there politely or wonders, when is this meeting going to be done, and lets him make all the decisions because she could give a rat's patootie about what's going on. But now, all of a sudden, she's concerned. She wants to know that these things are fixed. Because the non-financial things have to do with two things, family and money. And those are hot buttons for her. Now she's involved, and now that she's involved, guess what? It's going to happen whose way? Now that she's finally involved, it's going to happen whose way? Hers. So go back and get good at the truth or consequences of every single issue. The other reason I want you to get good at the truth or consequences is this, is when you're having a conversation with somebody about why they should do the 21-point checklist, and they say, that's not important with me, I want you to say, well, how about this issue? If they say, well, that's not important, I want you to say, how about this issue? Well, that's not important. How about this issue? Do you really think if you walk through with somebody the 21 consequences of not doing these things, so anybody would say they're not interested, if they had any money at all, would say they weren't interested in going through the 21-point checklist? If you could show them the consequences of not having a survivor's guide done, not having the power of attorney done correctly, not having it filed electronically, not having the quality of life directive done, not having the correct umbrella, not having the IDTF plan done up front, if you had all those things, the consequences, if you went through with them, the consequences of all things, do you think anybody is going to say they don't want to do the 21-point checklist? So if you got those in your quiver, and they're not interested in one, you could pull out another one. But really, you should get good enough that any one you pull out, they should say what? How do I get that? If they don't say that, then what do you need to get better at? That particular one. That's a great thing to bring up on Friday calls if you're having problems, okay? The sixth thing, get the 21 done on yourself. Not just printed, but implemented. So any one of you guys who don't have a 21 done on yourself, the next thing you do as soon as you get off this call is what? Why do you need to do a 21 on yourself? Why did you need to do a 21 on yourself? You believe in it. Either you believe this is important or you don't. You have conviction and belief, Bruce. Exactly right. Because here's the thing. Anybody that I've ever met that was making $1 million a year selling life insurance, guess how much life insurance they own on themselves? A ton, exactly. Because they believe in it. They believe that's the solution. See, I want you to be able to look people in the eye and say this, you know what? I've been in this industry for decades. I'm considered one of the top in this industry. I work with 150 other advisors out there that are across the country that are also tops in the industry. Between us, we have hundreds and hundreds of years of experience. And we went to Minnesota, and this wacko in Minnesota told us that we were missing 21 things, and we thought he was crazy. I mean, we got hundreds of years of experience. We get our clients the best investments and have for years. We give them great income plans and have for years. We are awesome at what we do, and this guy is telling us we're missing 21 things. He's cracked. But then when we looked at it, guess what we found out? I was missing all 21 things, and all my buddies, the other 150 guys, guess what they found out? They were missing 21 things. Not the big things. Not which investments to buy. We're good at that. Not designing income plans. We're good at that. It was all these 21 little things that hide in the weeds that if they jumped up and bit us on the butt could have unwound 40 years worth of financial work. Not only for ourselves, but we went and looked at if we weren't doing it for ourselves, guess what? Do you think our clients were doing those things? But when we found these out, we went back and did them for ourselves. We did them for our clients. So folks, when I tell you you need a 21-point checklist, I don't think you do. I what? I don't think you need a 21-point checklist. I what? Know it. You have to have that kind of conviction, guys. And when you do, guess what? They'll do 21s. And when they do 21s, guess what magically happens? They move all their money. Also, you'll be required to run through, if you're required to run through the outside the box. So if you haven't run outside the box through your compliance department, you need to do that. Contact Tricia or Missy, and they'll help you get that going. Even if you're not going to use it, you should run it through just to make sure that it's there on the shelf waiting to be used if you ever need it. Review 5Q elevator speech script. Explain what you do. So there's 3 scripts that you can use for the elevator speech. And when I say elevator speech, I'm using this term loosely. It's not the typical 5Q elevator speech where it's one short sentence. It's very specific, all the things that the 5Q. I'm talking about this elevator speech. I'm talking about having a conversation with somebody. A 2 or 3 minute conversation with them that gets, by the end of that conversation, gets somebody saying, will you do a 21-point checklist for me? Would you do one of those on me? So there's 3 different ones. There's one that starts with the, is it little things or big things that get you, and you walk them through the surgery story. There's the other one that uses the, here, let me show you what I do. And you take out your wallet, and you show them your DocuBank card. And then you go through that story. Or the third way is you walk through a scenario where you found out, you thought you were doing everything for a family member, and then when they got older, you started going through these things, and you found out they were missing all of these things, and now you do it for who? Everybody. So you got to be very good at these. So where do you think you can use those kind of conversations? Where do you use those kind of conversations? To get people to say, hey, would you do a 21 with me? Where do you use them? Everywhere, Bill. I agree with that. Could you use them after church, or when you're on a church board and somebody says, what do you do? Or a nonprofit board and somebody says, what do you do? How about at a school event or a soccer game? How about when you're at a cocktail party? Instead of saying, because when you say at a cocktail party, what do? You say, I'm a financial advisor. What's that person going to do? Run for the door. How about when you're playing golf? How about when you're meeting other professionals, CPAs, attorneys, etc.? So you need, how good do you think you should be at this? How much does it cost you to get a client by using these scripts? Nothing. So if you're good at this, guess what? You're going to bring in 3, 4, 5, 10 new clients a year at no cost. If that's the case, that's what? That's $100,000, $200,000 worth of business income by learning these things. So learn those speeches. If you're not good at those speeches, guess what? You're not serious about the 21-point checklist, because if you are, you're going to be good at these. Oh, do you need to memorize these guys? No, you don't need to memorize these. You need to be very, very familiar with them. You need to make them your own. You might create your own, a little bit from one and a little bit from another, a little bit another. Or you might memorize all three and you'll use whichever one you think is most appropriate. But you can memorize them, but you don't need to. You need to become familiar with them so you can create your own and then memorize your own elevator speech that gets everybody wanting to do a 21-point checklist with you. Does that make sense? So any questions? And then review the coaching call on 4-7 where we went through why you need to e-file your client's MPOA and everything else. And then the new guys that come on, we have them do 21s with 3 softballs. And what I mean by a softball is 3 people where there's no chance of making a sale. So either they already have all their money, or the people don't have any money, or if they had money, they wouldn't take it if they threw it at them. So I want them to do, the new people, to do 3 softballs with the 20s before they do anything else. Why do you think I want them to do 3 softballs, 3 21s where there's no chance whatsoever of making a sale? What would you guess? What would the reason for that be? Practice? I'd agree with that, Eric. Yeah, we're getting practices. Non-threatening practice. Yep, non-threatening is the big thing there. So you focus on the basics, not the money, Casey. Exactly right. See, what I found is that when people will try the 21, when they first start, they try the 21 where people have money. Can we admit that 21 is asking you to do things that you don't typically do, things that you're not familiar with, things that might be new to you, things that might make you a little uncomfortable the first couple of times you do it. So what would happen if there was money on the table is they'd get halfway through, things would get a little unfamiliar or a little awkward, a little uncomfortable because they have never done it before, and what would the advisor do? They'd fall back to the way they'd always done it before and get what kind of results? The same they'd always got before. And then they're learning what? Bad habits. So I want them to go through the 21-point checklists from 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 21 like a soldier, step after step after step without missing any, without worrying about a sale. Because then they'll find out, oh, geez, it's not that hard. I see why we do one thing. I see why we do number 7 before we do number 21. I see why we do number 12 before we do number 13. This thing is not that hard. And that's what I want them to see. So I have them do it with 3 softballs with people where there's no chance of even making a sale. And here's the funny thing. Guess what happens, though? And the guys that will do it with their golfing buddy, who they've been trying to get forever, who has no desire to move the money, but then they'll do the 21-point checklist softball on them, and boom, they end up making a sale. That's not the goal, but that happens. Then number 13, we have them review the 21-point checklist presentation video. How many times should you review the 21-point checklist presentation video, guys? Yeah, lots. And here's why. If you are good at that 21, as good as I am on that 21-point checklist video, and you know what? I've heard 2 people here in the last 6 months that were that good. If you can do that, you'll make $1 million a year if you so desire. And why do I say that? It's because I listened to how I did the 21-point checklist the year I made $1 million a year, and I was crappy. The year I made $1 million doing this meeting with clients, I was crappy as compared to how I am in that video. The reason being is because after teaching it to tens of thousands, having tens of thousands of meetings that we taught other guys to do across the country, guess what? We got better at it. But if you can do it as well as I do it there, and you work 40 hours a week, you can make $1 million a year if you so desire. So if that's the case, how good or how many times should you watch that 21-point checklist video until you can what? Do it that well. And again, in the last 6 months, I've found 2 guys that have done it that well. Now, here's the funny thing. One of the guys, we listened to another tape 2 months later, and guess what had happened to him? He did it as well as I did it on that tape, and then guess what happened to him the next time we listened to a tape? He moved backwards. It was almost as if he'd never even seen the tape to begin with. So what does that tell you? When you learn it, you still need to what? Review it. It's just like those Friday calls. Even when you understand GOTS, even when you're good at GOTS, you need to be on those calls to make sure you don't go backwards. Even once you've learned the 21-point checklist, you need to keep focusing on it, or you will move backwards. Does that make sense? And then after you get good at the 21-point checklist, then and only then do you want to start marketing. Because here's the reason why. Again, I taught this the wrong way for 10 years. I used to teach people marketing first, and then I would teach them the 21-point checklist. So here's what would happen when we did that. I'd put them in front of their 60 people a month, right? And then they wouldn't sell anybody, or they'd sell 1 or 2 people for a $30,000 or $40,000 case, make just enough to pay for the marketing. Does that sound familiar? And I'd say, hey, well, when I put you in front of 60 people and you sold 2 people for a total of 80 grand in sales, are you crazy? And guess what they'd say? Well, those people, they were all plate lickers. They had no money to begin with. They were just there to suck the information out of me. They were just out for a night on the town. What do all those statements have in common, guys? Oh, they're plate lickers. Oh, they're just out for a night on the town. They're just there to suck the information out of me. Well, I'd agree with the excuses, but something else. What do they all have in common? Excuses, I'd agree with that, but what else do they have in common? Those people are plate lickers. I'm seeing lazy. I'm seeing poor craftsmanship. Negative. Thank you, Evan. They're all negative. So everybody else, you're right. They're excuses. That's lazy comments. It's blaming comments. But what I'm looking for is bad attitude, Eric. Negative, Evan. That's what I'm looking for. Even though all the other things you wrote down, guys, are correct, what I'm looking for is negative. And if you don't like the people you're presenting to, guess what's going to happen? How good are you going to be if you don't like the people you're presenting to? You know those 3 ladies in back that came together and the 2 ladies that came with? I hear this every single time I talk to a guy. Yeah, there was 3 ladies in back and 2 of them came with the other one on the free tickets. And they were just there for a night. I hear it over and over and over. So you've already decided what about those 3 ladies? And if you already decided that they're not going to buy from you, guess what? Guess what happens? What magically happens? If you decide somebody's not going to buy from you, guess what magically happens? You're right, Bill. No sale. No appointment. Guys, if you don't like the people you're presenting to, guess what's going to happen? No appointments. And if they make appointments, they're not going to hold. So here's the magical thing that started to happen. Once I started to make sure people understood and had an understanding of how powerful the 21-point checklist is, that you can turn ordinary old ladies into happy, for the first time in their lives, clients. You can take that know-it-all, do-it-yourselfer and turns him into a client. Once you know the power of the 21-point checklist, that you can get people that you would never have gotten. I don't care if you've been in the business for 30 years. You would never have gotten them ever in your life, but the 21-point checklist gets those people. Once you understand how powerful it is, now when you go do an event, guess what you do? You look out in the audience and say, if I do a 21 with you, you're going to move all your money? If I do a 21 with you, you're going to move all your money? If I do a 21 with you, you're going to move all your money? If I do a 21 with you, you're going to move all your money. Now, guess what magically happens to your appointment ratios, guys? What magically happens to your appointment ratios when you have that kind of attitude? Goes up a lot. Why? When somebody, well, first of all, they can read your belief in the event. So you already got 50, 60% that are going to just give you a yes and can't wait to see you. And then with the other ones, when they say no, do you put your tail between your legs? Oh, okay. And I've asked you guys this before. If I was kicked out of or asked to leave a movie theater because there's carbon monoxide poisoning, and they asked me, please, can you guard this door? Guard this door until the firemen get here. And somebody tries to, and a lady with a kid tries to get around me, how much am I going to try to stop that lady? I say, ma'am, you can't go in, there's carbon monoxide poisoning. Get out of my way, you sap. I'm going in anyways. What would I do to stop that lady? Would I accept it when she said, get out of my way, you stupid jerk? I'm going in anyways. Would I accept that from her? What would I do to stop her? Would I physically restrain her? Would I tackle her and sit on her to keep her out? Exactly, I would, wouldn't I? So if you truly believe in the truth and consequences of the things that we do with the 21-point checklist, that not doing those things can have severe impacts on people, are you going to take no for an answer? Are you going to take no for an answer when they don't want to do the 21-point checklist? No, you're not, if you truly believe in it. So after you believe in the 21-point checklist, then we want you to start marketing. How do we want you to market? Well, first thing is we want you to go back and do the 21-point checklist for all of your clients. Why? Now, you can do that individually. You can do an outside-the-box lunch and learn, which is a fantastic way. And a lunch and learn doesn't mean it doesn't have to be a lunch. It can be a dinner. It can be Saturday morning at 10 in the morning. It can be at lunch. It's cheap and easy, and you go and do that for all of your clients up front. Why do you do that for all of your clients up front? Why do you need to do that for all your clients up front? Why, guys? Here's the thing. If you believe in the 21-point checklist, then you should believe that what? That's right, Mike. Practice, yes, but the real thing is this. If you believe in the 21-point checklist and you care about your clients, what do all your clients need? Either you don't believe in the 21-point checklist or you don't care about your clients. If you do not do a 21-point checklist for all of your clients, either number one, you don't believe in the 21-point checklist, which means you have to go back and figure out and talk to Jeff or me or Jerry and find out why you don't believe in the 21-point checklist. Because everybody that believes in the 21-point checklist is making money hand over fist. So if you don't do this with all of your clients, either number one, you don't believe in the 21-point checklist, or number two, you don't care about your clients. Which one of those is better? If you care about your clients and you believe in the 21-point checklist, that means what? All of your clients need a 21-point checklist. And if you do that, guess what you're going to magically find? I've shown you this article before. What percentage of advisors think they have all their clients' money? 74% of advisors think they have all their clients' money. Guess how many in actuality have all their money? 74% of advisors think, 17%. So 74% of advisors think they have all the money, but only 17% actually do. Which means if you do a 21-point checklist for all your clients, first of all, you're doing the right thing. Second of all, you're not going to be sweating bullets when you do an event and one of your clients shows up. But third of all, you're going to find what? All sorts of money. And I will tell you over and over again, every single week, I hear from a guy who says, I thought I had all my clients' money. I did a 21-point checklist for him, and presto, another 100 grand showed up. Presto, another 150,000 showed up. So you need to do these for your clients. If either you don't believe in the 21-point, if you haven't, either you don't believe in the 21-point checklist, or you don't care about your clients. Either one of those is bad if you're going to be on the 5Q system. The other thing is, this is a great audience to practice the outside the box in front of, or if you want, you can do fire, floods, and taxes for them. But it's a great audience because then you can practice it without, in front of a friendly audience without worrying about if you're making mistakes. These people are friendly, and it's very inexpensive because all you're doing is sending a letter out to your clients, so that's what's going to cost you $100 at most. So that's the first place you want to do it. And when you're doing those, guess what? You want to invite all the other professionals you know to come to those. Invite long-term care insurance agents, invite CPAs, attorneys, invite health insurance agents to come to those. Because then they'll see what you're doing, and over and over and over, I've had guys say, wow, after that, the property casualty guy said, wow, can you do those for me? Can you do this for my clients? That was fun. That was awesome. Health insurance agents saying, hey, all my clients should be going through this. Can we work out a deal? So that, a picture paints 1,000 words. So when they see you in action doing the outside the box, is this like anything they've seen before? Do we push any products there, or are we actually helping people at the event while they're having fun? We're not pushing products at all. They're actually having fun and learning something that's going to be of major import to them. And other professionals say, wow, I've never seen this before. This is something my clients would really love to attend. Can we do this? So that's the place that you'd want to have these, approach the professionals, is by having them come to a lunch and learn with your current clients. Does that make sense? So any questions on that? Also, who else are you going to invite besides the clients? You're going to say what? Bring what? Cans of food, silverware, what should they bring? Their friends, exactly, Frank. Bring friends. So after we've done that, and you've got time to practice the outside the box presentation, and you've created all those extra 21 so you can become awesome at them. Because guys, how many 21s do you need to do to get awesome at the 21? Lots. And where's a great place to do lots of them? With your current clients before you get in front of the real deal. Okay? And you will be paid handsomely by doing them with your clients, first of all. And then after that, when you walk into a real event, you're a master of the universe. You know how to do the outside the box. You've done that several times. And you've done the 21-point checklist a gazillion times. So you look out in the audience and say, if I do a 21 with 2, you're moving our money. If I do a 21 with 1, you're moving our money. You have that kind of confidence. So when you have that confidence, guess what? I mean, the 21-point checklist has been working since 1997. Year in, year out. Why? Because none of our competitors what? Do any of this stuff. Because we're finally talking to who? The person that wears the pants in the family. It works. And when you believe in it, it works unbelievably well. So these are the steps that I have guys go through for the 21-point, for the quick start. And even you guys have been on for years, if you want to go through this process with me again and Jeff again, we'd be happy to do that for you. Or if you want, just go back and do it yourself. That's terrific as well. But if you haven't done any of these steps, go back and do that step. Does that make sense? Super. So any questions, concerns before I let you guys go? Awesome, possum. Okay, you guys have a great rest of the week, and make sure you're on Friday's call. You'll see the magic of the 21 when it's done as well as Bob does it. It's awesome. Don't miss that. So thanks, everybody. Have a great week, and Jeff, we'll talk to you on Friday.